Content disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this interview are those of the interviewee and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by Streamate. This content is intended for educational or informative purposes.
So this top part says loser prizes. And then here is this wheel, and it, when I hit the middle of it, it spins. So this is 10 gold in my free chat. So if you were a guy that spent 10 gold on this wheel and I just spun it, this is the experience that you would get. And it usually isn't focused. I think the lighting, there's like a storm here, so it's not quite. Oh, I think you would tribute me. So you would tribute me money, and that one's my favorite one, of course, because it just means more money for me. But they love it. They're like, oh, like I feel like such a loser, and I'm like, you should. You are a loser. You're spinning the loser prize wheel. And it's just hilarious. Like, you're laughing. This is like how I feel like doing my job.
Obviously you can't like bah ha ha right to their faces, right?
Oh, I do. No, I laugh. I laugh my ass off. I think it's been close to 2 years now, so it hasn't been that long at all, but it feels that way.
How did you get started with this? Did you have any prior adult experience?
I didn't at all. I worked just like a normal job, and I did do some modeling prior to, but I don't know, I tried camming just as like the non-nude thing, just kind of like for fun, and just like, what? So it just kind of led into this, and now of course being Princess Mika and doing femdom is like my full-time gig, and it's great.
Yeah. Did any of your prior experience before you got into camming, did that overlap into what you're doing now?
I don't know, not directly, but maybe a little bit. I do have a business degree, so I maybe, like, I don't feel like, oh, I'm using my degree, but maybe I am. So I guess there's that.
You are running your own business, right?
And so. I did event planning before this, so I guess like just being kind of like detail oriented maybe helps, but yeah, it's definitely not like a direct transition, I suppose.
So I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I'm completely vanilla, like as vanilla as you can get. I feel that I'm pretty vanilla in general, but I am super intrigued by the whole idea of fetish and what that means to performers. So could you explain to maybe more vanilla viewers like myself what femdom is?
Oh boy. So I hesitate to be a spokeswoman on femdom itself. Because the reason why I say this is because I feel like with female domination, like there's not really any rules to it other than, you're female and like you're in charge. And I think that's kind of pretty much the only rule. But there's all different styles. You can be kind of like bratty and spoiled, but then you can also be kind of like mean and harsh. There's all different styles that go into that.
Is there anything taboo as far as their requests of you?
So the biggest one that I won't do is nudity. So I think that's probably the number one request on Streamate, just because they're, I feel like most models do nudity, and that's perfect. But for my particular femdom style, I don't do any nudity. It's kind of like, you don't deserve to see me naked. That's part of, my personal style. There are, of course, femdoms that do get naked or just do topless or whatever, then that's, like I said, another different style, both of which are femdom. But for my style, I don't get naked, so that's probably the number one that, so definitely surprises some of the guys, especially ones that are like, oh, I'm just trying femdom, or the unfortunate souls that come into my room and they have no idea, like they just join, a group private show or something, and they're expecting like, just like a normal vanilla striptease, and they're in there and they're like, it's awesome. Um, so that's probably the number one thing. And then I think number two is just there's just some fetishes that I don't like. Racial humiliation is one of them. And any of like the daddy stuff, not for me. I don't even think it's allowed on Streamate anyway. So yeah, there's just a couple that are just like, eh. But for the most part, as long as I'm humiliating someone, I'm good to go. So
you're coming at it from more of like a psychological angle, if anything, than just purely focus on the physical.
For my style, I'm definitely more of like a mental domination. Just like my biggest secret, it sounds really vague, is I just like to have fun with my subs, and I put them down, but in a good and almost even constructive way. Most of the time, they just want to be humiliated, and it's really fun for both of us.
How do you tap into what their desires are, comparing to maybe just more of a vanilla model, for instance, where, I mean, it's, I get naked and, you want to see penetration, or, but with you, if you're coming at it from more of a mental angle, how are you keen to that?
So one of the reasons why Streamate works so well for femdom is because it is kind of like a one-on-one thing. And so once I am in an exclusive environment, a one-on-one environment with someone, it's very easy to be like, so, this is our first time. Tell me about what it is that you like and what you don't like, or even what fetishes. And it sounds kind of like complicated, but usually they kind of all fall into the same thing, where it's like, oh, please humiliate me, or, I have a small dick, please make fun of me. And so those are usually the two categories. And then as the session goes on, sometimes they'll type more of like, oh yes, by the way, I don't have a girlfriend, or I'm a virgin. You know what I mean? And then it's like I piece together more and more things to say. Or if I really have no idea what it is that they want, or they're just not saying that much, whatever, I can always default to myself, like, oh, look at how hot I am, like, you can never get a girl like me, like, just worship me. They do like those types of things too.
Is there a lot of cam to cam then, since I'm assuming, like, especially with more of a one-on-one like that, especially with like small penis humiliation, do you get a lot of requests for cam to cam?
Yeah, I would say most of the sessions on Streamate they open their cam for sure. There's a couple that don't, of course, but for the most part, I'd say a good 95% or more do open their cam. Which makes it even more funny, because it's just like, wow, because then that gives, and I guess this goes along with the other question, that gives me more to use. So I have more things to work with once I see them. And it sounds really mean, but again, this is what they like. So it's not me like going out of my way to like be mean. It's all in good fun. It's consensual. Sounds like I'm this horrible person. But it is fun, consensual fun.
When you got started, did you start with more of the fetish realm right out the gate? How did you get started?
No.
What were your shows like whenever you did?
So when I first started, I actually I was still non-nude, of course, and I was just like a tease model, I guess a vanilla like tease model. But I still kind of had like the little attitude, because it's just like, oh, I'm not gonna show my naked body on the internet to strangers. Like, why would I do that? And it wasn't me like feeling above it or whatever. That's just me. That's my personality. No disrespect to, of course, all the models that do that, but for me, that wasn't going to work for me. And so I just had that attitude. And so it did naturally attract a lot of subs, like, oh, like, you don't have to get naked. You're so beautiful. You're so perfect. You should like do these fetishes, or like, can I just worship your feet? And it's just like, what? So long story short, they kind of told me about femdom, and I don't know. Okay, so I looked up what it was, and I was like, wow, this is perfect. Like this is, I can't believe this exists. Like it was just like an immediate like light bulb. It's just puzzle piece that fit. So
I mean, do you have any mentors, or did you know anyone in the fetish community or that did this specific style?
I am a part of a cam girl forum, and some of those girls do femdom. So I had a couple of the girls to kind of chat about it with, if I ever had like a question. But most of how I learned how to do it was mostly just through camming and just getting that direct experience and interacting with the different subs. They're the ones that kind of taught me the most, I'd say.
So, in your experience, has there ever been any situations where you were in a show and then just someone completely stopped you in your tracks as far as what direction they took the show?
Nothing really phases me. The one thing I can think of is sometimes things are going fine in a show, and then it's always awkward when they do ask like for nudity. That's probably the one that I encounter the most often, even though it's not like every day or something. It's like it's not that often at all. I think that's the one that kind of stops me, where it's like, because it's just like, how do I keep the show going while still rejecting this request? You know what I mean? And so sometimes that can kind of trip me up, but for the most part, especially now, I'm just kind of used to it, where it's like, oh, you thought you were going to see me naked? That's so funny, because that's not going to happen. So that was maybe more something that happened like at first, but now it's just kind of like, it takes a lot now to surprise me. So I'll just say that.
It seems so. I am so intrigued with what you do, because to me, like, just being able to assess like the different styles that people have online, it just seems so much more complex when you're talking about even storylines, or you're talking about tapping into people on the mental level. I mean, I guess it all is mental, obviously, but with the omission of nudity altogether, that just makes it so much more interesting. Like, you would definitely have to put a lot more energy. I don't want to like downplay what everyone else is doing, but you are definitely putting a lot of energy and thought into your shows.
Yeah, it does take a lot of like that's again why I have to be awake when I'm on cam. I can't zombie through it, because most of the show relies on what I'm saying to them. Like, of course, I stand up and I tease, and that's certainly a big part of it. But without nudity, without penetration, it's all verbal communication. So I really do kind of have to like tap into whatever it is that I'm kind of feeling at that moment, and like what they are feeling at the moment as well. That's fun.
So as an idea, then I'm assuming you like with the pre-scheduled tweets, and it sounds like you have some help over there with one of your slaves. What is your weekly schedule like, as far as how you map out between social media, your clips, and recording content? How do you schedule all that out for yourself?
So I do have great help from my slaves. That frees me up a lot. I do release a clip every other day, so generally that's about 15 clips a month, which isn't too much. So what I try to do is on Wednesdays and Fridays now are my camming days for now, unless I change it. I will film clips either before or after my camming session, so when I get dressed and do all of that, it's just on the 1 or 2 days. So that helps out. So that's Wednesday and Friday. And then the other days, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, those are the days I will like go through my clips. I'll go through like my emails, and kind of catch up with that type of work. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I do have the weekends off.
Okay.
But I was kind of toying with the idea of camming on Saturday again to connect with all of the, the guys that are in the United States that work in the evening that I am missing. So I might switch that again to like, maybe I'll have like a Monday off or something. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty chill, except for the days, when I am on cam, so Wednesdays and Fridays. It's a lot more work, to get ready and film and be on cam than it is to just like sit in my pajamas and go through the clips that I already filmed.
Do you get individual requests by your fans to, hey, can you jump on cam at this time, or hey, can I Yeah, can I pre-schedule a session with you?
Oh my God, yes. And it really annoys me sometimes. Um, yeah, I do have a membership site that I do put up my anticipated cam time. So every time someone asks me that, I'm like, did you look at my website? And keep in mind, this is femdom, so I can kind of be like, you don't have to be like, oh, thanks for asking. It's just like, did you look at my website? Or sometimes I'll be like, what do you think? Like, hey, are you camming today? Or can you cam today? It's just like, I'll answer it like, what do you think? And then they're like, uh, it's like, did you look at my website? Yeah, I did. And actually, this happened more recently. That it was like, did you look at my website? Yeah, but it says Streamate. And what about Skype? And I was just like, I can't. I just cannot. But yeah, so I was just like, no, it's Wednesday and Friday.
Right.
So it's funny. It's just to be so honest with people, I guess. I don't have to be polite to them.
But that's important though, because you definitely need to have that separation of your personal time, right, with your work schedule. And if you don't put a hard definition on those, or a hard line on that, then there's definitely a lot of room for overlap. And I can see how people can get in over their heads sometimes.
I do always have my ignore line up. So if they really want to connect with me, they're able to call like a phone line, and I just ignore them. So like they'll hear like just whatever I'm doing at the time. It could be cooking, it could be like watching the news. I think was someone like had called yesterday. Like, here you go. So there is that at least. So some of them really enjoy that because it's like, oh, well, this is the only way, to really kind of connect, with her live on the non-camming days. So it works well. And the other thing that makes it work too is like, I think kind of being like not camming as often creates like, oh, well, when she does cam, I better make sure that I'm ready. And so it really makes the time more efficient. So usually when I am on cam between Streamate and then my slaves that are outside of that, there's like a line. So I'm always busy when I am on cam, which works great. Because I feel like if I logged in Monday to Friday, I would if there wouldn't be, it's like, oh, I'll just see her whenever. It doesn't create that sense of urgency.
That anticipation, right?
Exactly. And plus, I couldn't do it.
What is your view about the whole segment of camming in adult right now?
So I do acknowledge that it definitely is sex work. It's an adult industry job. I feel like a lot of them go together. Like if I just did clips, I don't think I would make as much money if I didn't cam. And they kind of go hand in hand, I feel like, because some people will meet me on cam and then they'll buy a bunch of my clips, or vice versa. Like they'll find my clip store, maybe get a couple of videos, and then they find out, oh, she just does live. I'd rather do that, or a mixture of both, or heavily on one or the other. So they all kind of mix together. I don't know. I guess it's a good opportunity. It's definitely not for everyone, but I just do my own thing, and people can choose to participate. With joining me on cam or getting my clips, or being a slave of mine, or not, and that's cool.
Do they find you, like, say for instance, if they see you on Streamate, do they easily find you off cam as far as your social media profiles, and then they kind of...
Yeah, they do. I know it's not allowed, so I never break any rules, of course, but they definitely find me. They'll just type in, my name in Google, and they'll follow me on Twitter, and then they're able to get clips. Of course, some of them don't, but I'd say most of them do. So I do have like some of my clips available for sale on Streamate. I do have like the slave application on Streamate. So it's just kind of to respect Streamate's rules, and to give those that aren't gonna like look for me on Google or whatever, they still have all the same opportunities, to just stay on Streamate, and that's great. But if they do choose to search for me and they find me on Twitter, and that's their thing. At the same time, if they do find me, obviously I do have all these other areas that I do make money in. So,
given how much energy you have to exert in your shows, how do you prepare for that? Like, do you have a routine ahead of time where you find your zen?
Honestly, for me personally, I love K-pop. So when I'm just not feeling motivated, I will just listen to this music. K-pop is Korean music. And it's so energetic. It's so inspiring. I'm just like, yes. And I know that they work very hard as well, like in their music. It inspires me, to keep up my hustle as well. So that's pretty much my routine. I make sure to eat like a really big meal right before I can as well, to give me energy, because I know I'm going to need it. Especially if I go longer than I think I will, which, like, I'll just be honest, I usually always go over my, like, oh, I'll only be on like 2 or 3 hours. It's like, no. So it's really good to eat before then, because I'm going on that like huge stretch of not eating anything. Obviously I have water, but I get hungry. Like, by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. So I like dash to the kitchen, and I try also too to have like leftovers, so I can just heat it up and start eating right away. Like, it's so horrible, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Oh, I don't have anything made. So that's probably the only thing I do to really prepare, I guess.
And I can only imagine, like, eventually ending your night really late and then you're starting, like, that's
that's part of the reasons of what like contributed to me going to sleep so late, because it's like, oh, I logged out at 1 a.m. That's not that late. But then by the time I like get in my pajamas and say hello to my cats, which, like, I have a door, I have to close my cats out. So every time I open the door, I have both the cats just like at the door, like, what happened? Like, why couldn't I go in that room with you? And so it's so sad, because they're just like, and so it's like they're like attention deprived, so that I have to give them attention. It's so adorable. So that's part of my routine, I guess, too, and then cook dinner, eat dinner, like go through the rest of my emails, kind of wind down, watch a Korean drama, something that I also really enjoy, just like my like de-wind routine. If I do that too late, but like there were times like I seriously was going to bed at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. It was awful. So I'm much happier on the non-vampire schedule.
So what, you'd end up like sleeping the entire day away basically, and then enough time to get ready for cam?
Yeah, like I'm not even joking. Like, there were some days where I would like go to sleep when it was like getting light outside, and then I would wake up and it's like getting dark outside, and it messed with me so bad. I love the money, like, I love the camming part of it, but I just hated the schedule. Like, I felt weird. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, when you see light, you're just like happier, and it just like, it really messed with me. So I was like, it was really easy for me to change. Like, if it was up to me, I'd probably log in like way early in the morning. But that time just didn't really work for me or any of my subs or slaves. So the afternoon was definitely a good compromise.
But then whenever someone that maybe is not familiar with the style of female domination, how do you handle them whenever they're asking for certain things in your chat room? And do you just like ignore?
No, oh my gosh. So when it's in free chat, it's great, because a lot of the subs that I have in there will kind of answer for me. Like, the funniest ones are like when they obviously think like it's a dating site of some kind. And so, like, it's the guys that are like, hey, will you go on a date with me? And so I just try to have fun with it. Oh, you guys, I'm speaking to everyone in the room, like, this is such a great opportunity for me. Like, should I meet this guy? Like, I don't even know what he looks like. I don't know how old he is, or if he's a convicted felon or a rapist. I should totally meet this guy. Like, come on, tell me your name and like where you live. And sometimes like they'll just leave because they're just like, mortified or they catch on that I'm joking. But like there's some of them that are like, oh, well, I can send you a picture. Just like, oh my God, this poor soul. So then at that point I'm like, well, I'm just gonna ban you. Good luck. If you show me your tits, then I'll take you private. It's just like, oh, wow, can I really? Like, I would love to show you my tits and free chat, you and everyone in here, and I really hope you take me private. That would be so amazing. And even if you don't, I'm going to be so happy, and I'm going to ban you or something. So I just try to make it, like, it's just really fun. I just don't get mad at it, I guess.
I would be very amused too if I were any of those other people in your room and watching that, like, ooh, who's the next mark that's gonna walk in? Well,
yeah, the good thing about, like, at least for me, like, it works so well for my personality is because I feel like if I were, like, I feel like a lot of vanilla models, and this was like I guess speaking for myself and just like what I've seen, like I feel like a lot of the girls feel like a little bit of an obligation to be nice, or like they feel the best when they're nice and polite to everyone, because that's just kind of like a customer service mindset, you know, with anything, not just camming. So if someone asks you like, oh, no, sorry, I don't do that. And like for me, it's so great to not, it's just like, you know, I just totally I never say thank you, for example. Like it's just a totally different mindset, and it makes it really fun and very genuine and honest, because it's just like I don't have to be nice to these idiots.
So, do you turn on your persona whenever you log on, or is this really just an extension of you?
It's definitely pretty much me. Like obviously in my real life I'm more polite, you know. Obviously if I get on the phone with someone, I'm not making fun of them, you know. I know how to say please and thank you, but for sure it's not an act or a personality. And some, like, a lot of them ask that too, like, so how are you, like, what are you really like in real life? I was like, oh, do you think I'm this really nice girl and I just decided to pretend to be me? And, you know, so it's just like, come on, you guys. And they're like, no, I don't think that at all. It's like, well, then why did you ask? I don't know. And so they just kind of like to hear it, I guess. It's hilarious. You're laughing, and that's how I feel doing shows and making clips, because it's just so funny, and I have a lot of fun with it. And I think that kind of helps me attract, you know, the right subs to my room as well, because if they're having a good time and whatever, then it's good.
It sounds like you genuinely enjoy this. Like you genuinely enjoy the interaction.
I do. I tell them too. I'm just like, I'm here to be entertained and amused. So, and they know that that's their job, to entertain and amuse me. And of course they have to pay for it, you know, which is amusing and entertaining in and of itself, and demeaning for them, for many of them. So it's just it's a good time.
Hypothetically, like if you were ever to have the same setting but it was like in real life with people right in front of you, do you think that the reactions would be the same? And obviously it's still under the premise that, you know, you are here as a performer, you know, do you think that it would still be received?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, I guess I would see more like weird looks, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe I'd see more smiles. Like I can only imagine what they look like, but yeah, it would definitely be the same.